Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of the Calgary Catalyst. Today, we are talking about the narratives that fueling Calgary's ecosystem. And this afternoon, I'm joined by a very special guest. Let me introduce Alex Sarian, the President and CEO of Arts Commons. Prior to his position at Art Commons, he also held various leadership positions, including the director of Lincoln Center International in New York City. He has lectured and given numerous workshops across the world and has held governing positions and special advisory committees, including the XSSW and the Global Teacher Prize. So that's a short bio to start with. To introduce Alex to the show today. Welcome to the show, Alex. I'm very excited to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a privilege.
Thank you. So before we move on to the topic, so today our discussion is going to be around what is the art sector is like in Calgary and how is it impacting and shaping our social and economic development and ecosystem. So before we move on to it, I wanted to start it with a fun question or something to lighten up. So I wanted to ask you, there are so many forms of art, but if you had to choose one form or one art form that you can truly relate to and feel connected with, what would that be?
Oh, that is such a difficult question. My background is in theater and music, but I love the visual arts. The reason I'm having a hard time answering this question is part of the reason we're having this conversation. The arts can be so many things to so many different people. I find I have different relationships. So when I want to be intellectually challenged, I go see a play, I go to the theater. When I need to have a moment to myself and I have a very personal moment, I'll go to a museum or a gallery. If I want to feel like the arts is building community and like I feel part of a larger group, I will go to a concert or music. So it just depends on it just depends on the experience I'm looking for on a deeply personal level. And then I connect with different art forms based on how I'm feeling every day. And that's what I love about the arts is you can have about the arts as one thing, but you can actually have countless and infinite amount of cultural experiences based on what you're looking for and based on the art form that you're attracted to. So that's a very complicated way of not having an answer to your question. But yeah, it depends on the day.
I understand. I can relate to that as well. Depends on the day and what we feel. We kind of choose what we wanted to consume and immerse ourselves in. But if you had to pick one favorite artist and one artwork from any space, what would that be?
I would say there is you know what, I'll say I had a very recent experience. There's a local Calgary artist called Jay Sterling.
Okay.
And Jay is of Jamaican descent, and he lives in Canada now. And he had a show in Calgary just this week, and he had an incredible opening night on a Saturday. I went on a Sunday, and I felt like I had the whole gallery to myself.
Okay.
And it was just so beautiful to lose yourself. If you know Jay's work, the way that he tells stories and embraces narratives, sometimes they can be deeply political, sometimes it could be highlighting social issues, but the way that he explores shape and color is just so stunning. And I remember it was a small gallery space, but I must have spent hours there just losing myself in his paintings. And so I would say very recently, it's the work of Jay Sterling that would come to mind.
That's wonderful. I'll be sure to check that out. That is new to me. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, coming into the topic. So this is a very common question, but on the other side, it's a very important question too. So what is the impact of arts on the Calgary ecosystem from both social and the economic perspective?
So I would say that the impact of the arts on a city, you could ask that question of any city. You could ask it of New York, you could ask it of Toronto, you could ask it of Vancouver. So in many ways, the arts have, for all of us that enjoy the arts and who are patrons of the arts or who work in the arts, we understand intrinsically the social impact it has on us. We understand that when we sit in a room with 2,000 people or 20 people, it doesn't matter the size of the theater or the size of the concert hall, and when we are receiving information in a collective and in a communal way, we're building community together. So it brings people together. There have been studies, medical studies, around the impact of attending cultural experiences on our ability to regain our social abilities after 3 years of pandemic and isolation. There's research on how our brains, can think differently after we engage in a work of art that perhaps challenges our preconceived notions. There is research on the impact of cultural activities and arts activities on a young person's educational career and their youth development and psychological development. So we could have so many of those conversations separately. And I think many of us who work in the arts or are familiar with the arts, we feel it on a daily basis, but we sometimes lack the language to measure the impact or to articulate the impact. We also struggle sometimes to articulate the economic impact of the arts. There is this preconceived notion, which I think is very misinformed, and sometimes it's even dangerous, to think that the arts are this, to think that the arts is a sector where we are constantly asking for money and begging for money, where in reality, we know that investing in this sector provides an incredible return on investment. We know, for example, that the amount of employment opportunities that exist in the arts are so much more vibrant and so much more diverse, and the volume of employment per dollar is higher than in most any other sectors. We also know, at least here at Arts Commons, that for every $1 people are spending within our facility, whether it's because they bought a ticket or they're buying a glass of wine at intermission, we know that for every $1 people spend here, they're spending at least $5 more outside, whether it's because they're getting dinner or because they're paying for parking or because they're hiring a babysitter. So we know that there's an economic activity and an economic ripple effect every time somebody engages in an artistic activity. And that's not even mentioning if people are traveling, right? So imagine the amount of people that may be traveling from Edmonton to Calgary to see a show. All of a sudden, you're talking about transportation. You're talking perhaps about hotel accommodations. So the activities that are commonly associated with arts and culture create a ripple effect in terms of hospitality, in terms of retail, in terms of transportation. And so it is an incredible catalyst for economic activity. And going back to your question, you asked it specifically through the lens of Calgary. I think Calgary is going through a very interesting time in its history right now, where we are being praised by how we're approaching the revitalization of our downtown. We are being praised in terms of being a city that people are wanting to move to right now. We're the fastest growing major city in Canada. So there's something really excited about what's happening in Calgary for so many different reasons. The fact that the arts community can align itself and become a part of that story and part of that narrative is an incredible opportunity and is very exciting. And I hope, because we're still in that process right now, I hope 10 years from now or 20 years from now, we can look back on this moment and say that the arts community has truly taken advantage of this once in a generation opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. And then I agree with you on that. So every time we go to spend time watching a show or even to a gallery looking at art, it does have a tremendous impact on the way you think. It alters your thoughts. It can inspire you, or it can brighten up a dull day. And to me, one of those personal experiences, every time I get to go to a show or to a performing theater, it lifts up the mood, and then it helps in your creativity to flow. That's my most favorite part about attending the theaters or even the dance shows.
Yeah. And I think creativity, and whether you are somebody that likes to engage in the arts because you want to feel joy, or whether you engage in the arts because you want to feel challenged. I think what the arts allows you to do is it creates a safe space and a brave space in which people can come into a theater or a concert hall and see the world as if it could be otherwise. And I think, things around the world are not looking so great, and there are challenges in this country, and to be able to have a space, a communal space, where we can see the world as if it could be otherwise and be challenged and experience collective joy. I can't think of a better, I can't think of a better space, and I can't think of a better reason to do what we do. And if people are leaving those spaces feeling inspired and feeling like they have tapped into their own creativity because we were able to witness somebody else's creativity and it's given us permission to be creative, what an amazing gift.
It is, and then I truly agree. I should also mention that there is, to me, I felt that there's always been a difference, like between going to a theater, watching a movie is definitely a great experience, and you're always amazed by the story and everything that's happening. It lifts up your mood, but watching a theater or a play, it brings a completely different side of it. It brings tremendous thoughts. There's a lot of thought process happening inside your mind. You wanted to sit with them and then you wanted to analyze one by one. So to me, it's a very special experience, and I can't agree with you more on that too.
Yeah.
So moving on to our next question. So I wanted to ask you, so since we discussed about how it impacts, this is a very specific question. So how does an everyday Calgarian and an individual or a student or even an organization can harness the power of arts in what they are doing?
Well, I think, one of the things that I've loved about the evolution of arts and arts organizations is that access to the arts in many ways has been democratized. You can consume arts and culture, you can consume arts and entertainment on your phone, you can stream, the tools with which you can create are being democratized as well. Anybody can make a movie on their phone if they have a smartphone these days. So I feel like the threshold and the permission that people have to be creative has been completely blown open. Anybody can be an artist today. And I think, perhaps one generation ago, not everybody had the ability to feel like they could become an artist. And so I think that is universal, right? Technology and the internet and the world has become a very small place, and we can now collaborate artistically with somebody on the other end of the globe, for example. What I love about Calgary is that for a city our size, we have an incredible amount of arts organizations of varying different sizes. Many of them are housed within Arts Commons, but most of them aren't. And you have everything from, Theatre Calgary or the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra to Vertigo Theatre, or, there's an amazing theater company called Inside Out, or you have the, Trout's Puppet Theater. There are so many different arts organizations in Calgary. And it's not just a volume, but it's also this sort of trajectory where you have very small, independent companies that are doing very avant-garde, that are taking huge risks. And then you have these large institutions like the, Alberta Ballet that are just doing incredible. And whether you like dance or whether you like music, I feel like for a city our size, there are just so many opportunities. And you don't even have to live downtown. You can go to the Jubilee. You have, University of Calgary. There's so many opportunities to engage culturally and artistically, but I think you need to, as an average Calgarian, you need to seek them out. And that's what I love about Calgary, is that no matter what you love, no matter where you're from, how old you are, what your household income is, what quadrant you live in, if you seek out an opportunity to engage culturally or creatively or artistically within your own neighborhood, you will find it. And as a result, I find that people have a great appetite for the arts, but I also find that as a result, there's a very large artist community. So not only do we have a lot of arts organizations in Calgary, we have a lot of amazing artists that live here. and they do work here, but they also do work around the country and internationally, but they call Calgary home. So I feel like that is a very exciting place for us to be in. Um, yeah, and a lot of people in Calgary love to consume, love to engage artistically. And as long as that demand is there, I feel like the Calgary arts community will continue to satisfy that demand.
Yeah, that's true. I do see a lot of arts organizations, like it's like you're spoiled for choice. There are
Mhm.
so many opportunities. Like I mentioned back then in my college days back in India, so there's not a much vibrant art scene in where I was studying. But then I always used to look out for the posters from Alliance Francaise, the British Council, because they are the ones who bring all this free events and theaters and play to the city, and it always so much fun to go watch, engage, spend the evening with the community, whomever comes there, even if we don't know them. But it's always been a wonderful experience. But to come here and to experience a scene without any challenges, that you can go and access arts or play anytime, I think that's a very wonderful thing. And also, like you mentioned, Alberta Ballet, we have had the privilege to be associated with them because our daughter is herself is in the program. So we are very excited. She's gonna perform in the year-end performance. She's just finishing her level 1 beginner. So, but still, we are so excited to know about all the updates, the preparations, the show. It's a huge work that goes behind putting on one show. So I really do appreciate all of those things.
And let me ask you a question. What do you think the impact of this experience will have on her or what are you noticing already?
Uh, I should say that she's like uh, myself and my husband is we are more like we more lean towards the classical part of it. So, but ballet is something that she picked up on her own. Like when we first moved to Calgary, I picked up Calgary's Child magazine somewhere, and she was looking at it, and she saw the picture of the Alberta ballet poster somewhere. She cut it out. She's put it in there when she was 6 years old, and then that's when we realized that we should put her in a proper space. And we were so happy to find that there's a very professional space here, right here in Calgary, in downtown, where you can go and she can have that opportunity. So she's been doing it for like almost 1.5 to 2 years, close to. And then she's able to recognize those musical pieces when we play it on the TV. She's also good in terms of all those uh, the artistic expressions, I should say. So
Yeah.
she's kind of able to relate to a few of the things, even in terms of conversations, in terms of gestures, which is very amusing for us.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's amazing because she may not choose to become a professional dancer, or she may, but
Yeah.
if she doesn't, this experience will still have been life-changing. She will become a better communicator. She will become a more social person. Like the things that dance and dance education and arts education teach you are lessons that are transferable to everybody, no matter what you continue, no matter what career path you choose in life. So that's an amazing opportunity that you're providing for her.
It is, and we are very excited for the show as well in June. So yeah, so since you've just mentioned career, my next question is on the same line. So what are the career opportunities and growth opportunities for upcoming artists in the city and for artists who come from other cities who move to Calgary?
Well, I think so, for young people that love the arts, I thought I wanted to be an actor many, many years ago. And I realized very quickly that maybe I shouldn't because for whatever reason, I maybe wasn't good enough or I wasn't confident enough. But that opened my mind up to so many different career opportunities that exist within the arts. You can be an artist, you can be an administrator, you can be um, you know, you name it, like let's say you want to go into, law, you can literally be, a lawyer that focuses on the creative industries. You can go into finance and still focus on the creative industries. We are, what not many people understand is that the arts are still a business, and that we still need to operate as a business. And to operate a business effectively and efficiently and successfully, we need, accountants, and we need fundraisers, and we need, I'm blanking right now, but we need carpenters and electricians, and so there's a world of opportunities that exist for people to have careers in the arts that move far beyond just thinking that you need to be on stage or feel like you need to be the one with a brush in your hand, or playing a particular instrument. There's so many different opportunities, and there's something about Calgary right now. We continue to grow as a city, but we are also, hopefully we are today, and we hopefully will be for a little longer, one of the more affordable major cities in Canada. And so when you think about artists or people that work in the creative industries, many of whom might be freelancers, or many of whom might be part of the gig economy, meaning they're piecing together different incomes. Part of being able to build the life in the industry is being able to assess, okay, where is there a community or a city that I can afford to live in that still affords me opportunities. And I will say Calgary right now is occupying this sweet spot of having an incredibly vibrant community. It has an incredible commitment to growth in the future, and it's still relatively affordable as compared to other major cities. And so when you look at all that together, it's no surprise that many people are moving to Calgary. Many artists are moving to Calgary, or choosing to call Calgary home base, because I think it's also a fair assumption to make that people can live in Calgary and work in Calgary, but also work anywhere else. The world has become a very small place. You look at all the film you look at all the film productions and TV productions that are doing work in Calgary. So you could technically work in Hollywood while being a Calgarian. And so I think there's something very special about Calgary that I hope we can leverage and take advantage of right now, so that we can continue to grow this industry, attract more people, and also inspire more young people and tell them that there is, you can make a living in the arts, and you can actually pursue a career in the arts. And Calgary is actually an incredible place to do that.
True. That makes Calgary a perfect space, a perfect spot for them to move and come and grow. So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the same question. So let's say there's a newcomer in the city, but he or she could have been an artist, but they're not doing it anymore. They've stopped the practice for some reason. So for somebody who would like to reconnect and restart or rebuild, where do you think they can start?
Oh, there are so many amazing opportunities. So one of the things I love about Calgary is its hospitality and its relationship to newcomers. I mean, I remember before I moved to Calgary, I went to the downtown public library, and I was moved to tears in terms of the services that are provided through the library and in partnership with the library to newcomers that might come from anywhere around the world. And what I love about it is that essentially what all these organizations are saying is, you can be who you are in Calgary. You don't need to become somebody else. You don't need to, and I think there's something so beautiful about that. But at the core, what I love about it so much is that it's a city like Calgary that is honoring somebody else's definition of culture. And we all know that sometimes artistic practices are an expression of one's own culture. And the more diverse Calgary becomes, the greater diversity of cultural offerings should exist in Calgary. And so one of the things I would say to people is, there are so many reasons why one should reconnect with their artistry, regardless of where they are. It is a very healthy thing to do, regardless of whether or not one wants to pursue it professionally. So I would always say to somebody, you should reconnect with your artistic passion, even if it's as a hobby. It's such a good thing to do. The other thing I would say is there are so many organizations in Calgary that lend themselves, whether you want to dance, whether you want to take classes, whether you want to go, you know, book readings. I mean, I think about WordFest, and I think about DJD, and I think about all these amazing organizations that just create space for people to come into on their terms, and whether they're professional or not, you can just play and have fun. And the other thing I'll say is, if you are a newcomer to Calgary and you look for these opportunities and they don't exist, Calgary is the kind of city that will help you build it. And so if you come to Calgary and you are wanting to reconnect with your artistry or learn from scratch, I will say the first thing to do is, connect with one of these amazing organizations that are, whose job it is to reach out to newcomers and make them feel at home. And if you can't find something through them, then Calgary will help you create it. And not only will Calgary help you create it, Calgary will probably reward you for having created it. And so please do it, because chances are it'll make you happier as an individual, but it'll also make Calgary a better place.
I'm on the same boat with you on this. I've had the same experience with the library, like, because when we first moved here, the first place we went to is the Memorial Library. I didn't, that's the first library I went. Before even I went to the central one, and then I was really, really surprised with the amount of support and the facilities they have for anyone who just comes and visit, but to understand, explore, or even start something. So that was very beautiful. Yeah, so we have come to the end of the interview, and that wraps up the whole conversation. Thank you so much for joining me on this conversation about arts, the impact, the opportunities. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This has been a great conversation, and I'm so happy and so grateful that you're willing to have it.
Thank you, Alex.